One of the easiest ways to create an organized, peaceful, and functional home is to reduce the amount of items we own. After 7 years into our decluttering journey, I've learned some common items that I declutter time and time again. And because of that, they've sort of become no-brainers to purge. Today, I'm going to share 7 things I decluttered this month to maintain our calm, clutter-free, and functional home for our family of 4. Guys, I love reading. I love books. I love reading to my kids. I love watching my kids read independently. However, I am not a big book keeper. We do have a few family favorites and I have a few reference books that I keep for work. However, we generally don't keep a lot of books in our house. But out of the books that we do end up keeping, there are certain ones that are just so easy for me to purge. And those are books that we really just don't like. If we are being honest with ourselves, even as big readers, I feel like there are books that we sometimes just like try to read or we do read and we're like, that just like wasn't that good or it just wasn't for us. And that is the first thing that I'm getting rid of this month. Recently, we went to a kids consignment store and they had like a crazy clearance on and we got a ton of new kids books and some of them were like 50 cents, 25 cents, I think. And we got home and we read them and it was awesome. But there were a few that were just like not our favorite. They were just kind of like, oh, that was like okay, or that was a bit weird. And I just know if we didn't love reading them the first time, I just know we will not keep reading them. So there's 0 point in keeping them. I even had a couple other ones, like this one we did, I think that was also part of the sale and we did love it. However, I just know Leo's not gonna read it again. And even one of my own, I really liked this book. It was addicting, it was a page turner, but I know I'll never read it again. So those are all getting out of our house this month. Next up is something I get rid of pretty much every single month. I have recently been looking for a 1/4 cup measuring spoon or like measuring cup to use so I can leave it in my coffee so I don't have to constantly get the one like out of our drawer, and it's just like gonna make my evening routine that much easier. And if you guys have ever been to a thrift shop, you've probably seen that they have sometimes like little baggies that are full of sort of random items that are kind of related. Like they'll have one maybe that has like stamps and markers and crayons all in one. So I did find one when I was at the thrift shop and that included a 1/4 cup coffee or a 1/4 cup scoop that I was so pumped about, but it also included like a set of little measuring spoons and like a couple other little scoops and random things that I just know I didn't need. And I knew I already had an entire set, and I shared in a recent video about how I like having just one set of measuring spoons, so I knew I just didn't need these ones. So all of these like little extra items that are really just surplus to me, they are all leaving. I am filing these under something I call duplicates because we already own them, so they are all leaving the house immediately. I actually had something else in that same category this month. Annie Rose started wearing glasses last year and she's 7. So as it happens with kids, we've gone through like a few pairs because they keep breaking. And every time we've gone to replace them or get them repaired, they'll give us a new like glasses case. And so we sort of ended up with like an excess of them. And I kept seeing this particular one just floating around the house. And I'm like, why are we even keeping this? We don't need, this is an extra case that we just don't need. Also jars, which I've shared before, I get rid of all the time because we always have new ones coming in. So I end up with a lot of duplicates. Next up is something that I wish I could say never happens anymore. However, it still does sometimes. This past summer, we took the kids to their very first Blue Jays game, which is like our Major League Baseball team. And we live a couple hours from Toronto. So it was like a big, exciting day for us. And it was super special and super fun. However, it was also very chaotic. And you know, when you're at like big events like that and you're in line to order food and it's like so busy and there's a huge lineup and you just feel this pressure to order like super quickly. So I ended up accidentally ordering a drink that came with this souvenir cup. And it's like it's super cute and it's like a very cute cup and that's lovely. However, Leo also got another souvenir some other way and which he liked more, and we definitely didn't need another cup, so this can definitely go. And I am filing this under what I call impulse purchases, which even after years of being mindful about spending and shopping and consuming still sometimes happens. I actually have a second example of that this month as well. I won't tell you the full story because it's kind of a weird and long story. However, this little like pretend oven, a cookies makery, whatever that is, we kind of was like also an impulse purchase. It's like a kid's toy, obviously. And it came with this little stuffed animal I don't know. I think they smell, or you're supposed to bake them. I don't know. But we impulse purchased this, and I mean, the kids like playing with it for maybe 24 hours, but then it was old news and we definitely didn't need it anymore. And the kids are just like a bit too old and it just wasn't their thing. So this I'm also getting rid of this month. And I was really keen on letting this go like this fall, like now, so that because it's in basically perfect condition. So this is something that easily someone could purchase as a Christmas gift for their like children. And we bought it secondhand for I think $12 or $7. $12. So that made me feel a little bit less guilty about getting rid of it. Next up are items that we have outgrown, but not literally outgrown. When the kids were really small, probably like 2 or 3 years old, Scott's parents got them each one of these like little coloring cases, like a Crayola thing. And I think it came with like those no mess markers, which they used at the time. But even after all of that was gone, we kept using these cases and we would use them on like, anytime we were in the car for like long trips, and they would put like their markers or crayons in them or their notepad or their coloring book or whatever. And then they like use these in the car and it was great. However, I noticed in the last year and a half, they just never were packing these anymore. They were just never grabbing for them and they take up quite a bit of space in their little craft drawers. So finally I said to them, hey, do you guys even want these anymore? Do you use them? And they both said, no, we don't want them anymore. Which is the fourth thing that I'm decluttering this month, and I am calling it things that we have outgrown. I find that there are a lot of times we have items just like this kicking around our house, and sometimes they're tricky to get rid of because of sentimental reasons, but sometimes I find that we just sort of don't see them. Like things that are sort of just been sitting in the same spot of our house or tucked away in a closet for so long, we just sort of like forget we almost have permission to let them go. If you are working on decluttering your home or a specific space in your home, I just added a decluttering guide for families on my website. It has like tips and strategies, journaling prompts, everything to guide you through your journey and create that momentum to keep you going. I will leave the link in the description box below in case you're interested. Next up is something that I think is tricky for a lot of people. So last year for Christmas, Annie Rose got this adorable little change purse in her stocking from Santa, and it was very cute. And she is 7 years old and pretty much loves like any like bags, purses, little change purses, anything like this, she just loves. But it has been nearly a year now, and I just kind of kept noticing that this what kept moving around the house, but she never actually used it for anything. She never put anything in it. She never used it for play. She never used it for real life. And so finally I said to her, hey, Annie Rose, do you want this? And she just said, no, it's not my style. So this is item number 5 that I'm getting rid of this month, and I'm calling it things that my kids don't like. I sometimes find this can be tricky, even if we're dealing with our partner's things or our kids' things, especially if it's something that we personally like or we think they should like. For example, I think this is like the cutest change purse in the world. I'm obsessed with this design. I love this color. The zipper is so nice. Like I think it's so cute. But then the second she said it's not my style, I was like, looked at it, I'm like, you're right. Like she's 7 years old. She likes bright color. She likes glitter. She likes rainbows, unicorns. To her, this is like dreary and dull, and like she would never like this. The same thing will sometimes happen if like Scott's getting rid of a certain sweater and I'm like, what? I love that sweater on you. And he's like, I've always hated this color, or it doesn't fit right. And we sort of have to kind of get used to that idea of like, you know what, that's their stuff. Like that's not mine to decide. So if they want to get rid of it, they want to get rid of it. This month, Annie Rose also just kind of one day showed up with this bag of Barbies and said, these are all the Barbies I want to get rid of. Like we weren't even doing a toy purge. She was just sort of working on her own, and then she just doesn't like these Barbies, which again, at first I'm like, what? Those are all such great Barbies. Like, how do you not like it? But she just, for whatever reason, there was a certain pile of Barbies she just did not like the look of, and she did not want to play with anymore. So she handed them over and I said, okay. And I just put them into her donation pile. She actually, same thing also with this, like she got this huge thing of like, I don't know if you call this yarn, but like fluffy stuff, fluffy sort of yarn rope that she got from a craft camp this past summer. And again, it's been like several months. And I finally said, do you want this? And she said, no, I don't want to do anything. I don't want that. And instantly my brain was like, what? Like when I was a kid, I feel like this would have been so cool and I would have made 100 crafts with it. But again, not my stuff, not mine to manage. What do I care? Stuff that our kids don't like. If you notice your family member is not using something that they own, maybe it's just worth asking them, hey, do you even like this? Next item was a little bit of a bummer. So you may have seen my recent video where we tried to fix an old coffee maker that broke, but eventually we couldn't get it to work. So we ended up just taking it apart to like basically garbage it in different areas. And one of the parts of it, however, was this coffee pot, which I think people still can use if they need a replacement. So I am gonna donate this. And I'm sharing this as number 6 today, and I'm gonna call it things that we cannot fix. And I'm including it in this video, even though it technically wasn't an old video, because I see this so often with clients, is they have items that need to be like repaired or fixed, and they have a lot of guilt over letting them go, which is totally understandable. We don't want to be more wasteful than we have to be. However, we also don't want a giant pile of like to be fixed items hanging around our house for 10, 15 years. So I challenge you today that if there is something in your home that is broken, to finally make a decision. Are you going to repair it? Are you going to accept that it cannot be repaired and it has to be put to the garbage? Or are you going to pass it along to someone who can fix it? In the spring, we had a couple of like little kids scooters that we had I think from the previous year, and they were both broken and we just didn't have the skills to fix them. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't do it. So I just posted them on Facebook Marketplace for free, and someone came and picked them up, and ideally they fixed them and their kids are using them this year. Okay, next up is the last item, and this is also something that I've mentioned in a past video. Do you guys remember my video? I think it was about doom piles, and I shared how Annie Rose had wanted to like mail away for a free beach towel from our cereal box, which she ended up doing, and months later we received it and everyone was happy. And we ended up using it all summer at the beach and it was just fine. Throughout the summer, I sort of did notice like it didn't feel very absorbent, but I'm like, oh, whatever, no one else is complaining about it, so I'm guessing it's fine. But fast forward to a couple of weeks ago and we were at swimming lessons and it was like end of the day, everyone's tired, we're in the change room, I'm trying to dry the kids off, trying to get them home for dinner. And I'm trying to get Annie Rose dressed and she's like, I'm not dry yet, I'm still wet. And we're trying to dry her off. And finally I said, Annie Rose, like, I think this towel does not work. Like, I feel like it's not drying you off. And she's like, yes, I agree, it's terrible. So the final item I'm getting rid of today is our Tony the Tiger beach towel. And I'm putting this under the category of just things that don't work well. And usually items like this, if they don't work for their intended purpose, then probably nobody else wants them either. So I'm not gonna donate this towel. I'm just gonna cut it up and I'll put it in the garage and Scott can just have it for rags. So useless as a beach towel, but maybe great for cleaning up grease. So there is our monthly declutter haul. 7 categories of items, which I think is technically more like 20 items. It's gonna feel so amazing to pack this stuff up and get it out of our house. I already have a pile of items from our garage purge, which I also shared in a recent video, and a bag of kids' clothes and my clothes. I hope this provided some inspiration and motivation and maybe a few ideas for creating a clutter-free home for you and your family, so you can get on with your life and on with the things that matter way more than stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.